So we are going with the next session now. So we have Sreeram with us. We are going for a deep dive into the core internals of Kubernetes. So he will walk us through the internals by running a Kubernetes cluster from scratch. So also please note that we will have a live band after the keynote. So requesting everyone to stay back. Also we'll be distributing the prizes for the winners of the quizzes during the scene. Okay, thank you.
All right. So, hey everyone, my name is Sreeram Venkitesh. I work as a software engineer at BigBinary. I also do a bunch of things in the Kubernetes community. And this talk is about how you can learn how Kubernetes works by running your own cluster from scratch. So, this is sort of an elevator pitch of why you should attempt to do this. Running Kubernetes on your own can be an interesting exercise if you want to, like if you're already someone who uses Kubernetes. For most of us, it would probably be a black box. We just dump YAML into it and we get something out. And running Kubernetes from scratch will give you the confidence to be able to like look into the internals, like look through the source code and like debug problems and things like that. This is also the first step if you want to contribute to Kubernetes code base. So this is the architecture diagram that you have in the Kubernetes website, where you can see all the different components, how the control plane, how the worker nodes and all are set up. But I drew a simpler version of this diagram. This is what we will be building today. So I have a single Amazon EC2 instance where we will run all the different components and get a simple Kubernetes, single one node Kubernetes cluster up and running. So the goals for the talk is to be able to run kubectl create deployment nginx and actually see the nginx server running. So I think this is equivalent to a Hello World app for DevOps. So yeah, I have a demo video and like talking to Srijit, he had mentioned that like you can show a video, but I was like, no, I want the adrenaline rush. So I'm going to attempt to do this live right now. So yeah, so I have a bunch of setup that I've already done in my VM. Let me know if you cannot see this. Okay, so I've already downloaded all the binaries for all the different components that we're going to run, like the API server, scheduler and all of that. And you can see there is a directory called search, which has all the SSL certificates that are required by the kube-apiserver in order to run. So I've done all of that previous to this talk. So right now I have kubectl set up in my VM. And if I do something like kubectl get ports, I get this error saying the connection to the server localhost 6443 was refused. So 6443 is the port where the kube-apiserver is running. So kubectl is not able to get the ports because API-server is not running. So let's try to start the kube-apiserver. Oops. Yeah. So we get this error saying that etcd servers must be specified. So Kubernetes stores all its configuration in an etcd server, and since we don't have etcd running, we get this error. So I'll first start etcd, and we can see that etcd started and it is running in port 2379. So that's great. So I'll open a new terminal and I'll run kube-api server again. This time I'll pass the etcd server's URL, which is running in localhost 2379. Okay, now I get a different error. It says that the service account issuer and the service account signing key file is not present. So these are all the SSL certificates that we require. So as part of this talk, I've written a blog post where you have all the commands. I'll share this after the end, like at the end, where you can try this out on your own. And I also have all the initial setup that I've done. So here I have the actual command which will run kube-apiserver with all the SSL information. So now that we did that, API server is up and running now. Awesome. So I'll open yet another terminal, and now if I do kubectl get ports, I'm getting the expected output. I can see that the kubectl command, like the kubectl binary, is able to talk to the API server, and it says that there are no ports. Okay, so I'll try to create a new deployment called nginx, and I'll pass the image as nginx. And it says that the deployment is created. So now if I do kubectl get all, I can see that the deployment itself is created, but it says ready 0 out of 1. So if you notice, the pods are not created. The reason the pods are not created is because we don't have a replica set yet. So the replica set is what creates the pods. It looks at the deployment and sees that 0 out of 1 is ready, and that we need one pod, and it creates the pod. So that part is done by the kube controller manager. So I have the binary for that here. So I'll start kube controller manager, and immediately I get an error. It says that neither kubeconfig nor master was specified. So our control manager needs to know that the API server is running at port 6443. So for that, what I'll do is I will start the controller manager again, but this time I will pass the kubeconfig file. Okay, now it doesn't throw us an error, and we can see that it says finish syncing replica set keys default and Nginx and so on. So I'll open another terminal. It looks like it worked. So now if I do kubectl get all, I can see that the replica set is created, and the pod is also created, but the pod is stuck in pending state. This is because the component that schedules a pod to a particular node is the kube scheduler. So in our case, we don't have a kube scheduler. We also don't have a node. So right now, if I do kubectl get nodes, you can see that it says no resources found. So what I'll do is I'll start the kube scheduler, which also throws the error that kubeconfig or master is not present. So I'll do the same what I did with the controller manager. I'll pass the kubeconfig. And looks like kube scheduler started. And it will take a couple of seconds, but you can see in the logs here, it will show that the Nginx pod is getting scheduled. So I'll open yet another terminal. Now when I do kubectl get all, it still says that the Nginx pod is in pending state. So the scheduler was supposed to schedule it to a node, right? So what I'll do is I'll try describing this pod. So I'll do kubectl describe pod, and I'll give Nginx. And now you can see in the events it says no nodes available to schedule pods. So if I do kubectl get nodes, you can see that it still says no resources found. So in the architecture diagram that I showed you earlier, the worker node has the kubelet and the kube proxy running inside them, and that is what actually enables the scheduler to schedule a pod to a particular node. So in our case, since all of this is inside a single machine, I'll run the kubelet inside the same VM. So I'll try to start kubelet. I'll give the kubeconfig file as well. Alright, now it gave another error. It says the container runtime is not found. So you would have faced this error when you're trying to run a Docker container, but you don't have the Docker daemon running in your laptop. So what I'll do is I have containerd installed in this VM. So I'll start containerd. So there is a container runtime, and in another terminal I'll start the kubelet again. Awesome. Now it didn't throw an error, and you can also, if you look closely, see things like watching API server, finished populating initial desired state of the world, and you can see logs that says the node is registered properly. So now I'll open a new terminal and I'll do kubectl get all again. At this point, I can see that the Nginx pod was scheduled successfully and it's running. So I will try describing this pod and see what was happening. Okay, you can see all the different steps that happened. Initially, we didn't have any node to schedule this pod to, but after we started the containerd container runtime and the kubelet, it successfully got assigned to this node, and it pulled the image, and then it started the container. And right now, if I do kubectl get nodes, you can actually see the IP address of this AWS EC2 instance that I'm running on, and it says ready. So now what I'll do is I'll get the pods again with the wide output so that I get the IP address of this Nginx pod, Now if I curl this IP, I actually get the Nginx welcome page. So that, folks, is how you run Kubernetes inside a single VM with all the different binaries. So back to the slides again. Yeah, these were the goals of the talk. We set up a single node and we ran all the binaries on their own, and we were able to deploy Nginx. Hopefully I didn't have to use this. Yeah, so where can you go from here? So while doing the research for this talk, I stumbled upon a couple of different things. One was CNI, Container Networking Interface. I didn't quite understand how it works entirely, so that is one possible area that I'd like to learn more about. The second thing is, you would have noticed how we ran all the scheduler manager API and all of that without much configuration. We just ran the binaries with the minimal amount of configuration that is required to get them running. So they have a lot of flags. If you look at the Kubernetes documentation, you can see that they have like a whole lot of flags which you can use to hopefully run these binaries at the production ready level. So that is something that we can explore. Another thing is kube-apiserver. I'm not sure, while doing the research for this talk, I came across kube-apiserver a lot, and I'm not sure how it works, or I haven't really used it before. That is also another thing I'd like to learn. And the last thing is trying Kubernetes the hard way by Kelsey Hightower. Yeah, this QR code will give you the blog post which I just showed you, where you can find all the details and all the commands that I just ran, so that you can try this out on your own. You can also check out my website and follow my socials, so you can be updated what I'm up to. Yeah. Thank you, folks.
Any questions? We can have a very quick round of questions.